Okay, guys, welcome back to another episode of What the Pell. Today we're here with Kayla. Kayla, who are you?
Oh, diving into it right away,
Yeah, we
hey?
just get right into it.
Who am I? That is a great question. I would say I'm 29 from the prairies, and for work,
Mhm.
I do videos, so weddings,
Okay.
events, things like that. But that's such a small part of our jobs are such a small part of who we are.
Yeah.
I would say I'm a deep thinker. I'm someone who loves to have fun, but I need people to help pull me out into it.
Okay.
And I love learning, growth, overcoming, have like a vision for where I want my life to go. And I'm just trying every day to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where is it? 50?
50. Yeah, we've talked
Yeah.
about this
Yeah.
before. Yeah. So I feel like a lot of people struggle with the idea of aging,
Mm-hmm.
especially like your youth is so valued, or you live in this
Yeah.
area and you feel to get everything done in your life before you get married and have kids, because then it's over.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But I just, I thought about that for a long time, and turning 30 in a couple months here. And like, why can't I look forward to being older? Why
Mm-hmm.
can't I look forward to being 50?
Yeah.
But what would it take? Like, who do I want to be at 50?
Mm-hmm.
And
So
that's still, oh, go ahead.
you look forward to 50?
I do look forward to being
That's
50.
sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've only personally realized like the getting older thing like the last 2 years. I'm like, oh shoot, I'm getting close to 30. And then you see people in like their mid 30s and you're like, oh, that looks like it's all right. It actually looks pretty dang good.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't have to, like, aging does not have to suck. It does not
Yeah.
mean that you're stuck in a rut. I feel like I've seen so many people who are like 30s, 40s, 50s, just they're miserable, they're grumpy.
Mm-hmm.
10 years go by and they haven't changed at all.
Yeah.
And gross. Like, I don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. They're still wearing like same clothes they wore when they were like 18. They still got Volcom t-shirts and Billabong t-shirts and skater
frosted
shoes.
tips or
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I'll still be wearing Vans probably when I'm 50 years old,
that's
but
fine. But even like that's just outside stuff too.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Um
So what do you want to like compared to where you see yourself now? What are the things that, hey, I'm whatever, almost 30. By the time I'm 50, I hope this is the thing I hope for.
yeah. I guess I'm gonna reframe that.
Okay.
So back to my being 50 story. Okay, no. I will
You'll indulge?
Yes, yeah, I'll give it to you. So when I think about being 50, I want to be like the word alive comes to mind,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to be wise and have something to offer the people around me, whether that's people that are younger, the people that are even older than me. I want to have stories to share.
Okay.
And I also want to be in a space where like my health is in a good spot.
Mhm.
And just like if you view yourself as like the entirety of who you are, like you have a body, you have a mind, you have emotions, you have a spirit, you can take care of all these things.
Yeah.
As you age. Imagine who you could be
At 50.
at 50.
Yeah, where do you think you get that from? Like, where is that from? I'm gonna move.
That
Now pull it back to you, but keep it the same distance. Heck yeah.
that's better.
Good. Yeah,
okay.
that's better.
Where did that come from? Like that idea? Just my mind.
Yeah.
Just thinking.
Dang. So do you have any like was it your life experiences? Like for me,
Yeah.
and then I'm only saying this just to compare it to see if it's similar. For me, like the last probably 2-3 years, it's really like hit me that, oh, like this thing ends eventually. And then sometimes it's like you limit your life experiences based on expectation or based on like the outside sources where your brain is actually telling you, within reason. Like obviously you got to buffer certain things, but your brain is saying, hey, you know what, this is kind of the person you are a little bit, and these are the experiences you're seeking. maybe they don't align with everybody else's experience, whether it's traveling and,
Right.
sometimes I think, people limit themselves and things like
Yeah.
that. Um, in my head, I'm like, hey, I want to get all I can out of this by the time I'm done.
Right.
Would you say your
Mm,
perspective is similar or different?
I would say I'm stepping into that more now.
Okay.
What you've shared about like not living almost with no regrets,
Mm,
right? And not living to fit into your community box or expectations that people might have of you, right?
yeah.
So I would say now I'm starting to step into that. But this previous thought of being 50 is just seeing, I guess, people in my life, people that I'm surrounded with. Just, I don't too stuck.
Yeah. And I think the person at 50, like I can imagine you at 50 years old with your, your wisdom and your knowledge and your life experience. Um, just from my perspective, it's probably going to be someone that feels a little bit, as bad as it sounds, worth talking to a little bit. I think we all know that
Well,
person
thank
who's
you.
50 years old and has been kind of so rigid and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And then you get there and you're like, oh, there's not much interesting here though.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
you're happy and that's completely fine, but I just don't find much
Yeah.
interesting here. Um,
Yeah. Or like wisdom,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Wisdom has a huge cost.
yeah. I was gonna say, what is your thoughts on things like wisdom in terms of knowledge that you go after, like reading kind of wisdom
Mm,
compared to life experience wisdom? Do you would
that's a good
you
question.
would you weigh them as equal, or would you weigh?
Oh, experience, hands down, to way more than
Yeah,
reading. Reading is important. I love reading.
yeah.
Read like self-help non-fiction books all the time. But it's one thing just to have head knowledge,
Hmm.
but it's another thing to have like life experience, heart knowledge. Yeah, either experiences you've been through that give you wisdom, pain that you've gone through. Usually pain. Pain is a great teacher, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
there, yeah, like wisdom comes at a cost.
Yeah, and you can tell, I think, on a person too,
Hmm.
like when it's true wisdom, especially now with social media, you can almost, you could say whatever you wanted online,
Mm,
but when you meet a person face to face, I think humans are pretty good at identifying like shared human experiences,
very
or
true.
even not shared human experiences, but the knowledge of, oh, that is a real thing for them. um,
Yeah.
where you can write online, oh, I did this and I went on this and
Yeah.
I have this, and you meet them in person, you're like, wait a sec, there's something that's not equaling out here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
That's cool. So by 50 you're going to be doing that.
Well, hopefully sooner, but yeah, this vision of 50 is just the decisions I make today, make with that in mind.
That's cool. That's cool. And how long have you kind of thought like that for?
It's been probably the last year, 2 years. It's pretty new. Um, and that came with the fear of turning 30.
Okay.
And feeling like, is my life on the path that I want it to be on? Have I accomplished the things I thought I only had 10 years to accomplish?
Yeah.
Um, and then just saying like, no, I don't want to. Why do I have to feel this way or think this way? Like it's such a limiting belief.
Hmm.
So what can I do to, or how can I change it?
How has it changed, like, for you?
It's it's given me direction, focus, I would say. A big part of it is, and like with meeting you, a big part of it started with the physical aspect because I
Hmm.
didn't want to be 50 and immobile or constantly in pain
Hmm.
or, just not able to, like, if I have kids or grandkids at that time, to not be able to share my life with them. Uh,
Yeah, now it's not just robbing you of
yeah,
experience and
true.
wisdom. Now
Yeah,
it's potentially robbing, if you neglect it.
yeah,
Obviously there's certain things out of your control, but, or my control too. But
yeah,
it's it almost feels like now you know I know what this person meant to me, or didn't mean to me. I want to provide or not provide that for them, but I'm unable to because of this condition I'm in.
yeah. And I mean, nothing is ever guaranteed.
Yeah.
Even if I like do all this work now, you never know what.
Yep.
Um, but it started with like starting to take care of my physical health. I had a back injury
Hmm.
when I was 24, and that sucked.
What happened?
What
Like how?
happened?
Yeah.
um, well, I decided to start working out because I had never really done it before and it scared the shit out of me. I can say shit, right?
Hmm.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you can say anything.
Okay,
It's I always
perfect.
put it under explicit, so you can say whatever you want, even if there's no
Awesome.
swears. I'm like, still,
Explicit.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Um, and I didn't want that to like I knew I yeah, you just need to take care of yourself, right? And that is physical health is a part of it. So I decided to sign up for a gym. I think my first or second time doing like weighted squats and deadlifts.
mm.
We can talk about that another time, but um like wrecked my back.
And this was your first time.
First
Oh,
time.
right on. Good introduction to the world of
Yeah,
physical
world of
fitness.
fitness and like yeah, taking care of your body.
Hmm.
So I after that session I got home and like my back felt a little funny and then the next day I could not get out of bed.
Mm,
And it was like almost 2 weeks I think, just immense pain and like my boyfriend at the time had to like come in the morning, get me out of bed, help me out.
really?
Yeah. So
Yeah, that is not fun.
no.
Especially, yeah, especially that being your first experience too. Like
Yeah.
if you're talking about experiences,
Yeah.
not such a great one. Um, okay, I met you. I think the first time I remember meeting you was actually at a friend of mine, his wedding. I think that's the
Yes.
first time, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Were you in pain already at that point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how in events like that with your job and stuff,
Mhm.
which I'm sure we'll get into yet, but
Mhm.
how did you manage coping with that pain in jobs like that? Because
Mm.
it's as a videographer and I think photographer too, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Um, you're trying to get angles, you're
Yeah.
moving around constantly.
Yeah.
Like a day like that,
Oh.
in that day itself. I mean, I had no idea if you were, but were you in pain on that day itself as well?
Nothing terrible if I was. Like nothing
Okay.
stands out. There was one wedding I filmed where I was not doing well. And I mostly do video for weddings and the equipment is way heavier. You're
Mm-hmm.
like holding gimbals out all day, right? The gear you even have to haul around. Like, oh, I'm so jealous of photographers sometimes. There's
Mm-hmm.
little cameras.
Yeah, a bunch of wimps, eh?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We can get into that too later.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk shit about them in a second.
um,
I think the podcast before like yours is going to come out, I think is another photographer. So yeah, I'll
Perfect.
message him and let him know.
Yeah. Hey.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I do love photographers. I'm just jealous of them sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, but that wedding, yeah, I think I felt okay. But because I never knew when it would get re-injured. I never knew, if because oftentimes something would happen, but I wouldn't feel it in the moment. It'd be the next day where I would wake up and be in terrible pain.
Okay.
So just lived in a lot of fear of when am I going to hurt myself next? Um, and will I be able to do the jobs that I have? Will I be able to show up for my life?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a scary place to be, hey?
Yeah.
Like did you in that time, I'm sure I mean you're physically combating this thing and then I'm sure mentally you're obviously mentally combating it. Um did it feel like kind of the end of things in a way? Like was there hopelessness in there or were you able to maintain kind of okay, I'm gonna get through this kind of attitude? Or what would that look
Yeah.
like from your end?
Oh, it was up and down for sure. Very emotional. I would say the emotional part of it was almost worse in a way.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up with a mom who had a lot of back pain that really limited her. And I did not want the same for me.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, if that's what started me on this journey of physical health too, is seeing my mom so much pain, not wanting to put my family through that, future family. So then when I did hurt my back, it felt like, ugh, like I'm trying to avoid this, and this is what happened to me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and that's an interesting topic in itself because I think people something like that happens to them and they
mm,
equate it as genetics or
right.
they equate it as this and they don't necessarily see those red flags of or they don't maybe want to always admit it that the person that they is their family member or they care about in one way or another
Yeah.
or has some sort of significant role in their life at some point at least. um then maybe they just didn't do the work to improve their situation or know what the work was to improve their
Right.
situation.
Yeah.
So then when it happens to you, it can become even more scary because you're like, hey, I know this person in my life had this and they weren't able to get rid of it.
Right.
But at the same time, with some reflection, it's like you could probably see, hey, my mom didn't necessarily, I don't know, maybe she did,
Yeah.
but maybe not to the extent you did, where it's like, hey, I see this happen. I don't want this to happen. I'm in this position. This sucks, but I'm going to figure out a way to get out of it, or at least try to get out of
Yeah.
it. Did from your perspective, did your mom try to get out of it, or was it kind of one of those things like
Yeah.
it is
I
what it
would
is?
say she had just accepted her fate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
So now hearing other people, because that's my
mhm.
perspective, if someone was to walk through into this room and kind of tell you the back pain thing,
Yeah.
what would your perspective be for them, especially if like from where you started from and the things you were told early on?
Like, what would I say to them? How
Yeah.
would I encourage them? I actually have been put in these positions before too with friends who have some back pain, things like that. Um, and I know for me, it was a journey to get from accepting that this is what's happening.
Hmm.
You have to move through the denial of accept it. And then there was a lot of things I was doing. So I was doing massage, physio, and the counselor I was seeing at the time, she just like gave me some shit one day. She's like, those are things that happen to you, like massage and physio. You need to do something for your back.
Wow, she said that.
Yeah. And I was so mad at her.
That's yeah, because you're in a pretty desperate spot.
Yeah.
I'll get you to pull the
And
mic just a touch closer to you. Yeah, I'll just get you to move the mic constantly throughout this.
maybe I'm just leaning back more.
Yeah, I remember too having that realization of like, and that's such a hard thing to communicate to someone
Yeah.
because the last thing in your head that you want to do is something to make it worse.
Right. It's like, this is what got me in this position. Like,
Yeah.
why would I risk working out again?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just going to make it worse.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so she said that to me. I was pretty upset. But you think it over, you mull it over. And actually, the wedding that I met you in,
Yep.
the bride, she's a good friend of mine. And she told me about you and what you do and your story, how you've been through something very similar. And she encouraged me to reach out to you. And I think
Yeah.
it took me maybe a year to do so.
Wow. It's kind of crazy too. I don't think I've never talked about it on this podcast, like kind of the
Okay.
issues in the past.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, we're going there.
but that was probably at that point, I was probably just coming out of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like I probably had just started the gym here, like in this
Oh,
location, just started working out pretty
wow.
consistently again. So maybe it was good that it was a year before you came in here.
Give you some time.
Yeah, give you some time. Yeah. What was the hesitation in terms of?
Oh, well, fear of getting hurt again or if it's not going to work. And also my family, at least at that time, they've come a long way, but they did not do any type of physical activity. I did not grow up like really doing sports, things like that. And like I almost felt embarrassed to go work out or like some aspect of shame or fear in that regard.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know exactly why.
Has that changed?
Oh, huge, immensely. Yeah.
And have they seen kind of your progress and what you've been able to accomplish? And
yeah. It's almost, I feel like it's changed the course for my family. So someone just making one change.
What a leader. It's true though. That
I'm the
is
oldest, so have to.
yeah, but that is leadership. Like
Yeah.
it could have gone in much other way.
Oh,
There could have been
totally.
throw the hands in the air, do kind of what you've
Yeah.
been maybe displayed to you or been shown or not
Yeah.
shown maybe,
Yeah.
and just kind of lived the life that way. And
Yeah.
then and maybe the next generation gets to make the adjustment.
Yeah.
Whereas you made the choice. What pushed you over the edge? Like, was there a moment that was like, hey, now is the time, or what kind of brought you there?
Yeah, that is also a great question. I don't remember exactly, but I think it was so another belief or mindset that I have is to do things that scare me. And Like, I don't want to be afraid of the same things I was when I was 10
Mm-hmm.
as a 40-year-old. So I knew I was afraid of working out or afraid of going to the gym. And I just said, no, I don't want this anymore. I don't want this fear. I also don't want this pain. And I've tried all these other things and I'm kind of desperate. What's the worst that could
And in walks Pelly.
happen? Oh my gosh. Do you still remember when I came for the first time?
I don't. I like. Can you
Mm,
maybe if you remind me? I remember knowing that like our mutual friend there.
yeah.
I think you had initially told me that,
Yeah.
and I
Okay.
was like, it felt like a big expectation, but I did
Yeah.
have
Can you make me
confidence.
better?
Yeah. Okay. What was the first time? Do you remember?
um, I
Was it?
just remember being so afraid
Mm,
and so scared. And then I think you had caught on, or I told you, and you had just said something along the lines of, like, it's awesome that you're here, even though you feel that way.
mm,
So I just felt really encouraged. So thank
that's
you.
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. That wasn't. I don't. That was probably a moment thing. It wasn't pre-planned. So whatever wisdom came out there, I'm
Perfect.
just gonna equate to somebody else providing me it because it was like subconsciously
Yeah.
came out. But yeah, I do remember. And if there's any part of this that you
Mm.
don't want me to share, just
Yeah, that's fine.
let me know. But I
Yep.
do remember like, especially the fear. Like you were always one of those people who like there's some people who you can get warmed up and you can visually see they're warming up, they're kind of getting a sweat going, all that kind of stuff. We could definitely get you warmed up where the next person is like you hardly ever see them even their face even get red,
Oh,
meanwhile
yeah.
their heart rate is through the roof kind of thing. With you could definitely get warmed up, we'd get hop on the treadmill, that kind of stuff, but there was a different kind of like nervousness and like perspiration in those moments, and you could like for me actually
Mm.
I could visually see it.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things in my head. I was like, oh man, if I was in her shoes and this is the thought, and maybe I made it into something it wasn't,
Mm.
maybe.
I'll let you know.
But yeah, but it was at times, I especially remember first learning like Romanian deadlifts, which is just a hip hinge movement,
Yep.
and you holding the bar and just standing there for a little while.
Yeah. I
And
remember that. Yeah.
yeah, and I was like, okay, this isn't whatever we do here isn't the goal is not to push you physically today.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
simply to get you to believe that you could do it.
Right.
And that was it.
Yeah. The mental.
And then towards the end, going from hip hinging with a barbell to deadlifting, like
That was a journey.
yeah, to deadlifting and good weight.
Yeah. Well,
Like
thank
good
you.
weight. I'd have to look back to what it was, but for some reason I remember like specifically I think 155.
Oh, we did that once with Julie, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which and you're not in back pain today, right?
No,
Which is crazy.
that is wild. Yeah.
Like
Like,
from yeah, that's crazy. Because it's not like you're like 6'4" and like
mm,
250.
no, we can like cut that in half almost. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's very impressive, especially I mean, coming from a spot of back pain
Mm,
or being in that kind of back pain. Cause I do know people at one time, even including myself, who are bigger than that,
mm,
who would be also terrified to lift
right.
155 like you did, which is crazy,
Yeah.
crazy to think. That's insane. For me, I'm very
Yeah.
proud.
Oh,
I get to brag about it,
yeah. Please do.
which is sweet.
Yeah.
That's one of those moments, and it doesn't always work the exact same way yours did, but you definitely had ups and downs along your
Mhm.
journey too, right?
Yeah. It wasn't like nothing's linear.
Mm-mm.
No, nothing. So there was definitely some times where I came in or texted you the day after saying like, "Oh my gosh, I'm in so much pain," but it wasn't ever as bad as it had been.
Mm,
It was maybe a day or two instead of 2 weeks.
yeah. How did kind of going through that part of the journey? How did that play in mentally? Did you start to have a positive twist on things, or did your brain still play those games, like especially on those
Mm,
bad days?
the, m- I mean, just give yourself time, right? The more time I gave myself and the more I could see that, okay, I have pain, but it's not lasting,
Mm.
or I have pain, but I can still move,
Mm-hmm.
versus being stuck in bed and so just being like learning to trust my body again, I think was a big part of that. And it was also, even though there was those moments of pain, to see it as encouragement or that it is still growth,
Yeah.
even though it feels like it's going backwards.
Good for you. That's a tough mentality, I think, for me to get,
Oh,
for me to have. I like to
I mean, it wasn't
catastrophize.
it wasn't like that all the time, but
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good though. Like to take those little wins and really let them compound. Because I think back pain too is one of those things where it does involve that. It is
Mm,
massively mental,
yeah,
almost from the day you get hurt,
yeah,
and it just compounds on itself. Um, and it would you say it does have a portion of it that does traumatize you a bit
yeah. Oh, for sure.
in terms of even when things are going much better, maybe
Yeah,
they're not perfect, but much better, the brain can kind of switch you back into, well, they're not perfect. Like this could still get worse. I'm not perfect
yeah.
when I'm,
Something could still happen.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's so then you got into, how did you enjoy kind of working out and that kind of stuff? What's your perspective? You can be totally honest too.
Well,
I'm a bit biased.
well, you should be. If you're
Yeah.
not biased, then you're in the wrong career. Um, I guess there was parts of it I learned that I really enjoyed it. Mostly because I always thought maybe this is just like a girl thing that they always do so much cardio and
Mm.
weightlifting at the same time, like all these courses that you can do. Or so I would do some of those in the past, and like, how do people do this? This sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But coming here and then like taking your time, like doing sets with rests in between. Oh, I can get behind this. This isn't too bad. So I did learn that there's so many aspects of strength training,
Yeah.
or so many different ways to do it. So you just have to find what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I also never felt like a gym bro. So that part of it sometimes was hard.
Yeah.
Like, do I fit in here? Do I um if that makes sense?
Oh, 100. That's
Yeah.
exactly the way. As much of a like, I mean, people are gonna look at this. Everything I kind of do
Mm,
kind of goes to the gym bro thing.
yeah.
But I've never felt like a gym
Yeah.
bro, and I've never really related to a lot of the stuff
Yeah.
in that, and that's one of my driving factors with this. So 100%. But yeah, it's an interesting thing too because there's, for me at least, I don't even want to be, the
Yeah.
stereotypical gym bro. So I'm even resistant to it, I think, in some aspects.
Yeah.
But I also am well aware from the outside perspective, definitely could be equated as
Yeah.
a gym bro. I just try very hard um
Yeah.
to do things outside of that as well.
Yeah. And I never felt like that in here.
Good.
Yeah. Sometimes, like, looking on Instagram, I'm like, I go to this gym. Like, I don't look like I go to this gym.
Oh shoot.
But that's just my own insecurities.
Yeah.
That's not you,
Yeah.
right? But I always felt like you really cared about how I was doing in my journey, and like cared about my overall health.
Hmm.
And me as a person too. So like I came Tuesdays and Thursdays. Those were my favorite days of the week.
Really?
Yeah.
I've oftentimes wondered that too because a lot of people are hesitant with working out. Like it's a thing that they don't necessarily look forward to.
Right.
And I've oftentimes, I mean, I become connected to that thing. So oftentimes think in my head, I'm like, do some people, and I would totally understand if they do or if they did, start to equate. I didn't want to see him today. I totally understand that. But that's good to hear because that is one thing I do love about training people, especially in
Yeah.
this aspect, is I just work with one or two people, and I get to get to know them quite a bit, especially with someone in your shoes where you have like a pain that's causing you emotional and physical pain, and there's fear there. It allows me the opportunity to hear them. Where
Mhm.
if there was 6 people in that room,
Right.
I would have a really hard time. Like I'd feel very anxious leaving it because I'm like, did I hear everybody?
Right.
Did I get a chance to hear them and understand where they're from? And not
Mhm.
only that, but even outside of pain, people come in with crap all the time
Yeah.
where that workout doesn't need to be the hardest workout they've ever
Right.
done because their day, emotionally, their stress, their sleep, whatever is compounding on top of that is already very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be a day that's really good that we can get that from them.
Right. Yeah.
And two, someone with like rehabbing a back, like you said, there's so many aspects to fitness. It's introducing to them to right now, hey, you don't need to do this,
Right.
and leave this workout feeling like this. Today, what we need to do is make sure when you leave this door, hopefully you feel better than you did when you came in, or hopefully you have trust that it's going to help you feel better.
Yeah.
we don't need you to walk out of here hardly being able to like lift your arms or something like that. Like that's
Yeah.
not the point of this.
That only happened a few times.
Yeah, as you progressed, yeah,
Yeah.
then we could beat you up a little bit. That's really
Yeah.
cool. So
Yeah.
then now what do you do? Do you still work out?
No.
You do kind of.
Well, I don't
There's a
strength
leading
train. Yeah,
question.
I know it's a leading question. I know where we're going with this. I haven't, yeah, strength trained in a while, but I did start training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Which is absolutely wild.
Isn't that crazy?
If someone with back pain like yours in the position you were in, okay, you think about your journey in
I
fitness in just
know.
the last little bit.
It's wild.
You went from pain
Yeah.
consistently, needing help to do a lot of things,
Yeah.
and then whatever that and transitioned to deadlifting 155 pounds or whatever it was, at
Yeah.
least that.
We'll just say it's that.
Yeah. To now doing jiu-jitsu, which is a sport that demands a lot out of the structures of your body.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
how does it feel?
Amazing.
Yeah, that's spectacular.
Yeah.
What do you get out of jiu-jitsu?
Oh. Well, that was another thing that terrified me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, and decided, you know what? I'll just try it. They came up with a women's only course. Well, that feels better than just like getting sweaty with a bunch of dudes.
Mm-hmm.
So I signed up and I fell in love with it because of initially like the stress relief it gave me. And it got me out of my head and into my body.
Oh really?
Yeah. So with like strength training, it was very mental. But when you're rolling with someone, your brain shuts off because you're almost like fight or flight.
Okay.
At least for me, that's how it feels sometimes. And you just have to rely on, like, you're not, like, I'm not thinking about stuff. I'm
Mm.
just like, I can feel my legs, I can feel my arms, I can feel my partner. And you're just trying to manipulate them to your advantage.
Mm-hmm.
So, as someone who is often in their head, it gave me that chance to just live in my body for that hour, half an hour, whatever it ends up being.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Is it very difficult? Because every time I see
Yes.
people, I've never personally done
You
jiu-jitsu.
should
I've
try it.
wrestled with my buddies before,
Yeah.
but I don't think that counts.
Yeah.
Is it physically exhausting? Because it
Yes.
looks physically exhausting.
Yes. Yeah. You think, oh, we're going to roll for like 2 minutes at the end of class. Like I am dripping sweat. I'm also a sweaty person, as you know.
Okay.
But like, yes, everything is just moist.
That's unbelievable. Like
Yeah.
always looks like that, but I'm always kind of curious because just because you're like on mats
Right.
or you're two people are very close to each other, maybe
Yeah.
that produces it.
Probably. Yeah.
But is there a lot of I guess you're thinking very hard too, and that elevates your heart rate. Or
Yeah.
in your case, are you trying to apply those things quite quickly that you're learning, or how does that? What does that look like in terms of
Yeah.
effort, or the way the effort is put
The
into it?
effort. So I guess the way the classes usually go is you do your warm-ups and then you're going to learn 2 or 3 different techniques. So you watch it, your coaches will demonstrate it for you. You go with your partner and practice it. So then I'm in my head a lot as you're like manipulating your partner and
Mm-hmm.
trying, learning it. But then at the end of class, roll, which is you just go for it. You fight them.
That's cool.
And so that's when I feel like the brain shuts off a little bit and you have to rely on your just on your body to remember what you've been taught. And it's such a rush. I can't explain it.
What's your? Do you have any big moments so
Big
far?
moments. Nothing that I remember the first time I like got my partner to tap by like a rear naked choke.
Nice.
So
That's
that was
cool.
pretty fun.
Have you been choked out, like passed out?
No, we always tap before that happens.
Dang.
Because
You should just let your ego get the best of you. Just
like
yeah, just nope. Not gonna do it today. Like out
Yeah.
of nowhere, just the most casual class. Just
yeah.
nope. No, that's
No.
cool though. That's
Yeah.
Have you learned a lot?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes. It's given me a lot of confidence too. In terms of like, if someone were to grab me, I don't think I would just freeze. Maybe I would, but at least I have some sort of knowledge of how to move my
Mhm.
body or how to like even just like touching people or like being in their space. I think that would help that aspect of things. But
Yeah, or someone entering your space, hey?
yeah,
Like, because I think,
yeah, like
I
the
mean, that's
bubbles, your bubbles
uncomfortable.
get so small in jujitsu because people are literally like just sitting on your chest.
Yeah, that
Like,
would be that'd be something very new to me, especially
yeah.
like for me. I don't like people, especially being around like my face. I hate
Oh
that.
yeah, like
Drives
that's
me
you just
nuts.
like put elbows on people's jaws and stuff. Like wild. Kind of
Yeah,
raises this up.
you can just if you want to bring it closer, you can. Yeah, other than that, it's good. If you want to move it, move it. Just get comfy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a tattoo behind my ear, and she
Nice.
had her forearm kind of like just so she could get in there. And I remember thinking, having the feeling of I want to get out of here. Like this doesn't hurt that bad, but I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
Like just let me escape, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine, especially for girls,
Mhm.
guys, especially in social situations, and maybe if there's like substances like alcohol involved, don't always understand girls' spaces and
Yes.
their personal spaces. Does it allow you to be more confident if, let's say, someone is kind of in that personal space, either telling them to get out of it
Yeah.
or just having the confidence of, okay, I know where they're at.
Hmm.
I can manage this comfortably, and then I know what my if this goes whatever direction it goes, I have confidence I can manage this to some extent.
Yeah. Oh, I would, yeah, very much agree with what you said there. Um, there was a situation I was in January, I think, where I was alone with a friend in her studio space, and this guy walked in, and he was spouting a bunch of angry stuff and very angry about us being in this building. And he wouldn't leave. Like we couldn't reason with him. We couldn't talk with him at all. It was really scary. And he was maybe about my age, a little older, and he wasn't leaving. And I'm
Did you
like,
know him at all?
no, no.
You don't know what his
Like
like.
I'll just keep it simple for
Yeah,
today.
okay,
But
that's
yeah.
fair. I kind of want to know more.
Yeah, I can tell you after.
Yeah, that's
But
good.
yeah. Um, and I know eventually I just decided to stand up. I had been sitting and I walked towards him and I stayed without of like punching range. But I
Mhm.
told him, you need to leave.
Good for you.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
So scary. It was so scary. But I don't like if I hadn't done jujitsu, I don't think I would have been able to do that
Good for you.
because like I'm confident now in like my presence.
Wow.
Yeah. And then he told me that I couldn't tell him what to do. And I just said, no, sir, like you need to leave. And he did.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
pretty impressive. I know
Yeah.
lots of guys who wouldn't do that.
Yeah. And like I'm just like what, 5'4". I'm like this little person. But
Yeah.
um
Yeah, it's incredible to like that confidence. It just goes to show too how false confidence happens as well.
yeah.
Typically a person who's confident is probably not going to act the way that guy was acting
Right.
to get his message across.
Right.
Typically it's, and you could probably see that from your perspective too, of like, I know this isn't going to go anywhere or anywhere good. I'm going
Yeah.
to manage this situation the way it should be managed.
Yeah.
And this guy can go do his thing somewhere else. But maybe he would benefit from going to jiu-jitsu.
You know what? He probably would. I feel like he's got a lot of anger.
Do you think he'll pop in?
No.
You know what, Kayla? I hate to take this off the rails of it being a kind of a serious situation, but I feel like the right thing for you to do would be to seek out that guy
Oh.
and send him an invite.
So, yeah, like
That would be
come join jujitsu, be my rolling partner.
I'm just kidding. That'd be the worst thing to do. Now he can contact you and know
Oh
who
my
you are.
gosh.
He's reconnected with. Yeah. No, that's really cool though.
Yeah.
What did your friend say? Was your friend there?
My friend was there. Yeah.
Good.
So, and she is the sweetest person alive. Like she was trying to like reason with the guy and she was apologizing and like, this is not the time. Like we need to just get him out of here. She's so sweet. So in my mind too, I'm like, I need to protect her because like
He's gonna recognize or potentially
Yeah.
recognize, hey, I can push this further yet.
Yeah. And so yeah, we got him out of there. We locked the door and we're like, shit, what just happened? Like
Now, is that situation for a girl, like for guys, I'm
mhm.
like, it would probably be a situation after that door is locked or whatever, and you look at each other and you kind of laugh a little bit. You're like, holy shit, like what just happened? Like
Yeah.
that's wild. And you
Yeah.
kind of tell that story. Is it a lot different from a girl's perspective?
Oh, I would imagine.
Like, were you guys in a situation where you're like, okay, no, this is still pretty serious?
Yeah.
Guys tend to be kind of potatoes, and we think we're, I mean, either stronger than we are, or we think the situation is more manageable than sometimes it is.
Yeah.
But from a girl's perspective, I think there's a lot more awareness.
Yeah.
Because there has to be.
Yeah.
Would you say that though, after that cooled off, like, or like after he's out, was there still some?
Well, like 5 minutes later, we saw him walk by and he was just looking in the windows all angry.
What's this guy's deal?
Yeah, it's a story, but
Okay,
it's not my story. So
I changed my advice. Can you get him on the podcast? I'd love to have him in here.
yeah, I think we have his number, so I could.
That's why. Do you actually?
My friend does, I think. Yeah.
Dang. Okay. Well,
we could get him.
Yeah. Maybe tune in next week.
Oh my gosh.
No,
yeah.
I'm kidding. That's really cool. So jiu-jitsu, what's next then?
After jiu-jitsu, or
yeah, either after jiu-jitsu or what's next? Maybe you're pursuing jiu-jitsu to a further extent. What is in terms of that kind of stuff?
Well, I have my work season coming up shortly, so I think I'm going to cool off on jiu-jitsu a bit because people do get hurt there. It just happens. Like someone broke their toe on Tuesday.
Yeah, it is a combat sport still.
Like you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
So I'm going to cool it off for the summer a little bit, and then take it back up in the fall. I almost got to do a competition. So that would have been actually this Saturday if I would have done it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
do you want to do a competition yet?
Because that's only because it scares me.
Yeah, 50. Got to do one before 50.
Right? Yeah. And like I don't feel like jiu-jitsu for me has been more of a fun outlet.
Okay.
So I don't, and like when I was considering competition, it really took that fun out of it. And so we'll see if I do one in the future, but I would do it just to say I've done it.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Okay, backtracking.
Yes.
All the way back to the beginning. So you do videography, photography, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Tell me about growing up. How did you progress into that? What does that look like?
Have I told you this story? Probably.
Yeah, I think you have.
Okay, let's tell the world.
I don't want to pretend. I don't want to tell your story.
Yeah, no, I can tell it. Okay. You comfy?
Yeah, I'm settled in.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, I always tell people when they ask me this question, how did you get into video? Why do you like doing this? I tell them that video changed my life. So it's hard to picture now looking at me, like calm, a little bit quiet.
Used to be much taller.
Used to be much taller.
I know.
Sorry. Apparently I was a terrible child.
Okay.
Like temper tantrums galore. My parents couldn't eat in a restaurant for years because I would never even make it till their food came. Yeah. So, and like I would yell at them. I would scream at them like, I hate you. Yeah. And even one time, apparently I was screaming so much I passed out. My parents rushed me to the hospital because I'm their first kid and, you know, they care a lot about the first one. And the doctor just laughed and said, she'll never do this again because, you know, her body shut down because she wasn't breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now your brain kind of is like, it knows its limits.
Yeah. Well, apparently I still did, just not as bad, I guess. So one day my parents had the idea to film me having one of these temper tantrums.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I remember them filming me and I was so angry. And I don't remember watching it, but they made me watch it.
Well, I'm thinking about that guy that stormed in, who was having his own little temper tantrum. Imagine you guys filming him, how that would have gone.
And we were in a film studio. We totally could have.
Yeah, that would have gone really good, eh?
Yeah, I'm sure.
So I can imagine as a kid, you already are upset, probably don't know what's going on, and then they're filming you.
Yeah.
Carry on, though.
Yeah. So I don't remember watching it, but apparently I never did it again.
So it worked.
It worked. It worked for me. I don't know if it would work for every kid, but you got little Kayla now, little soft-spoken Kayla from that.
That was the turning point. How old would you have been?
I don't know. I still have the footage. If you want to plug it in. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I'll put it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll just put a link below.
I would have been like maybe 3 or 4,
Okay,
2, 3. I don't know, somewhere in there.
so you were pretty young then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild to think of because yeah, you definitely are soft spoken now.
Yeah.
Um, which is yeah to think. Kayla, temper tantrum. Even in here, you've in the gym here, you've been in stressful situations, and that's never
Yeah, I'm
come
like
across.
gently putting my dumbbells down when
Yeah.
I'm done. Like arms are just shaking, but I can't drop them.
hmm
Yeah. Um,
So then, so how did you transition? That was your
yeah.
inspiration to get
Well,
into.
that's just a funny story. I don't know if that actually. Um,
you're like you're like I'm gonna turn this around on my parents. This
right.
this has there's a long-term goal now.
Yeah. It's like you did this to me. I'm going to
Yeah.
show you. Yeah.
Have you ever watched it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of it now, looking back? Like, when you watch
Well,
that?
like I mean, I'm a child, so I can't really be embarrassed about it.
No.
But it's funny. Like it's really funny how angry I was. Um,
Do you
but
remember what it was about?
no,
Just
no,
upset.
I was just upset.
Good for you.
Thanks.
Good for you.
Yeah, I should like actually take a little bit more of that into my current life
Well, I
and
think there's
express some emotion.
yeah, I think there's lots of kids who grow up good kids and then they start to have temper tantrums as adults. So it's nice that you kind of learned and got it out of the way early
Right?
on.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
it's done. It's over now. But as I got older, I like for school projects and things like that, I would try to do videos instead of posters because I can't draw at all.
okay.
So my teachers were actually very generous with me. And I remember being in grade 5, and my friends and I, instead of making like a health poster for class, we made a fitness video. Have I ever told you this?
You did
Yeah.
tell me this, but I forget lots of the details. I
Yeah.
remember you made a video. I didn't remember that it was fitness
Oh, it was
related.
fitness. Yeah, we called it AmeriFit because our health teacher hated America. And we made like a workout video that people could follow along with. We had commercials. We had like it was probably a 20-minute video and we recorded it like on VHS.
Wow.
Yeah. So like when we were editing it together, we had to like pause, take the tape out, like and like
So you were editing. It wasn't
Oh,
just a
yeah.
single take.
No, it was edited.
And to think I have enough struggle in this room sometimes with I can put this on a computer and go through it. How did you learn to do that? Like, was it learning as you went in
Yeah.
that situation?
Yeah, my friend, she did most of it. She had some older siblings who had helped her out.
Okay.
But yeah, so we did that in grade 5 and grade 7. So we made an AmeriFit too in grade 7.
Looking back, is original, like usually the original is better than
Oh yeah.
the sequel?
Yeah.
What's your
Ooh,
thoughts?
the commercials were better in AmeriFit too.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We really stepped up our game, got some better sponsors, but
That's cool.
Yeah.
Can you still watch those?
yes, I have the VHSs. I just don't have a VHS player.
Dang.
So I'll have to go to the MCC or something and pick one up.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really
There's
cool.
some good memories. We laughed. Oh, it was so fun. So I fell in love with video through these experiences, right? And
Mhm.
like having fun with friends, getting to be creative. And it's almost like it gives you a break from your normal life in a way. You get to experience something new, you get to create. So going into high school, made lots of videos too for classes, things like that. But when I turned 16, for that Christmas, my parents bought me just like a hand cam. And I remember thinking like, thank you, but I want something better.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And my parents have always been very supportive of me.
Okay.
And so they actually bought the video camera off of me. So they bought it for me for Christmas. Then they bought it off of me just to keep for themselves. And they loaned me money so I could buy my first big girl camera and a laptop.
That's awesome.
It's really cool. Like I would not be where I am today without my parents. So I think they loaned me, was it like $3,000 or somewhere in there?
Mm-hmm.
And they charged me 4% interest.
So they charge you interest on it to get it back. Well, that's what do you think about that now, looking back?
It was such a good lesson because I got the loan when I was 16 and I paid it off when I was 18.
Good for you.
And I've never had a loan for my business since.
That's really cool.
So it just taught me to, like, loans suck. I mean, they're necessary sometimes. And I wish I maybe would have there's benefits to it, right? I
Yeah.
wish I would have leaned into that a little bit more instead of just being like a cash thing. But it really taught me how to save my money. It really taught me like how to. I just hated that feeling of being in debt to my parents.
Yeah, and you have to, in a sense, you have to commit to this thing
Yeah.
now
Oh
because you're
yeah.
paying this thing off. Like if you back out and you're like, I'm
Yeah.
not doing it anymore, well then now
Yeah.
you're still paying for it.
Yeah. And like I didn't have a plan. Like didn't want to get into business. I just wanted to make videos with my friends. I spent
Wow.
maybe it was 2 grand. I don't know. 4 sounds like a lot. Um, but so a couple months later, there was a family friend's wedding coming up. And my parents said, like, hey, you should maybe come up with a way to pay off this camera that you bought. Why don't we pay you to film this wedding? And that will be our gift to the couple. Any guesses how much they paid me for this wedding?
Hang on. First of all, how old were you?
16
And how long had you had this camera for?
to a month.
And are you the only person videoing the wedding?
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna lowball. I think I'm gonna lowball. $150.
Less.
Okay. Whoa. I mean, to be fair, your reputation on the wedding streets probably wasn't that
That wasn't high.
high.
It wasn't even a wedding street, I don't think, at that time.
$150. It was less than 100.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say 50 then.
Yeah, it was $50. I
And you
filmed
took
the
it?
full
You took
yeah,
the job?
I did. I filmed the full ceremony, full speeches,
Dang.
edited for $50.
Wow. And what did you feel like in that scenario? Did the $50 matter to you in that moment?
No,
Or was
no.
it the experience?
I remember thinking like, this is a lot of work for $50.
Yeah.
But
What'd you edit on? I'm curious of that
I had a
too.
MacBook, and I don't remember which program.
iMovie for sure, hey?
I might have had a capture because it was still like a DV tape camera. So I think I captured with iMovie, but I edited on something else. I can't remember.
For $50, you were doing all that.
Mm-hmm.
And would that be the start? Because video wasn't huge with weddings, like
Oh, no.
in terms of the way like professional video
Yeah.
wasn't. It was
No.
like some uncle had a camera maybe
Like
that he
just in
brought.
the back corner there somewhere.
And nobody liked him either because he was videoing the
Oh
wedding.
yeah, no, those uncles still show up to this day.
Do they really?
Oh my gosh.
With the camera? What do
With
they do?
an
The
iPad.
phone? I like this one. For people not watching on the
Yeah.
whatever they're listening to it, when they hold it like 4 feet, like a full arm
Oh
length,
yeah.
and then they hit the button and they kind of hold it out over top of the person in front of them
Oh.
or in the middle of the aisle, as if they're
Oh.
not distracting the most important people there.
That will be a whole nother podcast. Me talking about all the people I've ran into
Yeah.
at these weddings. Oh my gosh.
Do you ever get advice?
No, but sometimes especially when I was younger, some people would come and like ask me certain questions about my gear or my process to see if I knew what I was doing.
So, okay, how did this wedding video turn out?
The first one?
Yeah.
I think good. I just remember after the wedding, the bride's father, who was our family friend, I just said that I was very professional. And
Wow.
to this day, that is the number one compliment or feedback that I get from my clients.
Wow. That it's meaningful because of that moment. That is really cool.
Yeah.
And then from then on, did you just have the confidence to like, hey, I'm going to do this some more? At 16 years old, that's wild
I know.
to be considering that, I know at 16 years old for me, I was working at Dairy Queen as an employee.
Right. Yeah.
You're almost starting as an entrepreneur in a way,
in a
or
way, yeah.
self-employed person in a way at 16 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that would have been February 2010, I think, or 2009. I don't know, somewhere in there.
Okay.
And then I think the next weddings I had were Russian weddings.
How did that happen? You have a connection?
Well, okay, the bride, I met her on the school bus.
Right now, maybe, are you sure in today's climate you can tell? I'm just kidding. You're like,
Yeah, she was graduating.
okay.
So she was 18, I think. But I guess people had heard that I do these videos, or I do wedding videos. I don't know. It's a bit hazy, that 13 years ago.
Yeah.
So she booked me on the school bus. I think I might have gotten paid $300 for this wedding. Yeah, big step up. But the hours were quite different. I think I started at like 7 or 8 in the morning. And I was done at 1 a.m.
Wow.
And the whole day was in Russian.
Wow. Was in terms of that, um from learning those experiences, that Russian wedding, which
Yeah.
that's wild.
Yeah.
How did you end up buffering? Like, because now I'm sure you have boundaries in terms of your time for
Yeah.
what you're getting paid
Hmm.
and stuff like that.
Right.
Like, how did that progress?
Yeah. That, well, you just have to, when you're starting, you just have to say yes to everything almost.
Mm-hmm.
So I did some, did some real sketchy weddings. I did 2 Russian weddings, which were terrible. Like getting groped by old men, and like it was real bad, real bad. Everyone was drunk. Yeah, it was not a good time.
Only you knew jujitsu.
Right. Oh, could have taken them
That would
down.
still be scary though. Like
Yeah,
A Russian
yeah.
wedding. Were they scary? Like,
Um,
just stereotyping every Russian ever, eh?
no, they were. It's just like I was 17 at this point, so but still like hadn't been around a lot of like party scenes,
Hmm.
and so like everyone being drunk and dancing and like coming up to you and touching you was like, I'm just trying to be professional.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
trying to
just
do my
trying to do my
job.
job.
Yeah, I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. But so yeah, I just had to say yes to everything. And I remember like the first couple weddings I did for those first 2 years were just like straight ceremony, straight speeches, you know, boring. And I hated it.
Okay.
Um, but then in 2012, I had seen this highlight feature style of cinematic, whatever style, and I cried seeing my first movie. And I'm like, if I can do this, then I could keep doing weddings. So I had one more wedding coming up, and I told myself it was going to be the last one. But I emailed the bride and I said, hey, I want to try out this new style. I don't know if I can do it or not. So I sent her a link of what I was hoping to achieve. And she emailed me back and said, go for it.
Wow.
And so I tried it. That was the summer of 2012. And I have been booked solid since then.
What a risk. How did that first one? You had a lot of first moments, eh?
Yeah.
Like a lot of big, like memorable moments in terms of your journey and stuff.
Yeah.
How did that video turn out?
Well, now that I look at it, it's like I'm still proud of myself for taking a risk,
Yeah.
but it's not great
No, for the time.
for the like
Like
it's yeah, it's okay.
would anybody you said what year was it?
2012.
Would very many people have been doing video at that time with
No.
weddings still?
Maybe in Winnipeg,
Yeah.
but not in this area. That would have been I feel like I brought it to this area. I don't know if that's true
Yeah.
or not, but yeah, the Southern Manitoba, I think I helped introduce.
Video.
Yeah, wedding
Which is
video.
now like a staple.
Mhm.
Wouldn't you say like people almost want video more than like will people give up photo for video sometimes now?
It's slowly getting that way.
Yeah.
Where people tend to value it more. They can see the value, but it's also like this mindset of everyone has wedding photos. Like that's the most important thing of their day. So it's hard to like re-educate people.
So the photos are almost like traditional.
Yes. Like who would get married without getting wedding photos? No one.
Yeah, that's where I feel like a video is way more substantial in terms of meaning.
Yeah.
Just because you see the expression, like you can actually see expression take place.
Yeah.
Rather than the moment of expression.
And you get to hear the words, like you get to hear your vows or the speeches or like you don't remember any of those things when you get married.
Did you do wedding photography as well? Or for weddings,
I've done a few, but mostly video, like 90% video.
At our friend's wedding there where we had first met each other, was it you were doing video then in that case, right? Because there was another girl with you and she was doing photography, or was she doing video with you as well?
There was another girl just doing photos, but we're separate businesses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure about that.
Yeah.
That's cool. And then so now it's progressed until now you do this full time.
I do this full time.
Not full time, but like full time.
Yeah.
Like it's busy and do you still enjoy it?
There are parts of it that I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
I think the lifestyle that I have is the part of it I enjoy the most. Just being able to choose my hours, choose when I want to work, and also get to say yes or no to things, right? Oftentimes when you have a regular job, you're told what to do. But now I can say yes or no to things. I've done a lot of weddings. I've eaten a lot of chicken at these weddings. So part of me would like a bit of a change sometimes.
What would you, if you were to
Yeah.
just, and maybe you don't give up weddings
Right.
entirely, but
Yeah.
what entices you in terms of like video or photo
Mm,
or anything in that area?
um,
Is entice the right word,
entice?
or
Oh, we can
what
go with that.
tempts you?
Temps.
Yeah.
Or like intrigue.
There we go.
Yeah, we could
That's
do
the word I'm
intrigue.
looking
Yeah.
for. Yeah.
Um, I think a big thing that would be really cool to start doing would be to just get more to help people get educational content out,
Mhm.
especially about things that I'm also passionate about. And then just I think it all has to do with like I would like to do more commercial or business work, but I'd be very picky with what businesses or
Yeah.
what's happening there. Um, that's yeah, that road is a little hazy for me right now.
Yeah.
But there's also like parts of me that are like, oh, I'm just gonna do like a complete career change.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you have an idea of what that might be someday?
If I were to like have another life, I think I would have become like a psychologist or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we're eventually I'm gonna swing back around to that because I have not forgotten your earlier statement about who you are.
Mm,
Um, that's cool.
yeah.
That's cool.
Or like an acupuncturist, because that's just so intriguing.
Yeah.
Or just anything like I've become over the last couple of years very interested in like the mind and the body.
Mm.
So something along those lines could be fun too. But
What for within the like within your world currently,
mm,
what does intrigue you in there? Like what intrigues you, like excites you in terms of the stuff you're doing right now?
like the work that I'm doing right now.
Yeah. Like for me, in all
Mm,
honesty, it's people like you who come in here and they have this story, and I get
right.
to see a part of their story, a very small piece of their story.
Yeah.
And sometimes I catch them in the middle, sometimes I catch them at the start, sometimes
Mm,
it's the end. That's my favorite part. And then the other part is the connection with them. I make it here, but then I get to see them, even if they don't see me. I get to have a moment of like, oh man, there was time we spent together that I got to offer them some sort of value to hopefully improve their
mm,
life.
yeah.
I hope that's still the case, and you get to see that moment, whether it's sometimes you see it on social media or you see them in public, or they
Mm-hmm.
even come talk to you, and you're like, oh man, that awesome that whatever I'm doing had some sort of value in their life for a brief time. That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
Um, but for you, in terms of the work
Yeah.
you do,
And the work I do get to hear people's stories, right? Their love stories, how they met each other, how they fell in love. And the hopeless romantic part of me loves that.
is there a part that hates it?
Yeah.
Is there'd be a part of me that would hate that, to be honest with you?
I guess because it's so repetitive. That's the only part. But if my couples are watching or listening to this, I do love them. um, but it is just part of the job. I think you can get like even like doctors and stuff, like if you're faced with, hardship all the time, that does wear on you.
Yeah.
So sometimes the ooey gooey love stuff just wears on me too. Um, but I think like what you shared about what you love about your job, I would love to have that in my career too. And
Mm,
I don't have that necessarily right now. So I'm looking to maybe find a way
mm,
to,
that's interesting.
yeah, because I do care a lot about people.
Hmm.
And I really want everyone to live their life to the fullest and to become the best version of themselves, to overcome
Hmm.
things that they've been through. And right now, my career doesn't allow that.
Mm.
So, or doesn't have room for that necessarily. So is there a way I can do that outside of career, or do I need to change career?
Yeah, because I guess you're from an outside perspective, it's very easy for me to look and say, well, yeah, you get to see this, you get to see that, but you're almost the like production crew.
Yeah.
Like you're almost the manufacturer that
Yeah.
you don't you get the supplies for the thing, you put the thing together, you like finalize it and make it all pretty and nice, and then you simply just get to hand it over,
Yeah.
where you don't necessarily get to be part of the bigger picture of it all. I never even thought of that
Yeah.
before, where you are almost, does it feel like you're a little bit from the outside, like as
Yeah.
you're describing that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Like I show up for their best day
Mm,
and then I'm gone.
What if you you want a great idea, eh? You should do like marriage counseling
Oh my
and
gosh.
then also the videography. Just do the whole thing and just
Like do their premarital and
yeah.
then like film their wedding, and then a year later, are they still together?
Yeah,
Oh
you'll do a GoPro, like you'll do the ceremony too, and just wear a GoPro for
my
the video
gosh.
portion. Like it's like referees in sports if
Right?
they're
Oh my gosh.
no, that's
Yeah.
yeah, I could see that. There is that bit of a disconnect,
Mhm.
which I'm sure you have to have in some
Yeah.
aspects, or they would prefer you to have. Like, hey,
Yeah.
just I want this thing. This is how I want it, and
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. But even seeing like the job that you do here really inspired me to like, oh, I want to change some stuff.
Oh,
Because I think
cool.
it's really cool, like that I can tell that you care about the people that come in,
Hmm.
and I felt very cared for, and um, and yeah, it
Which,
inspired me.
which is sometimes the hardest part
Yeah,
because it's always hard. Like now you do jujitsu, right?
yeah.
So then sometimes people leaving
Oh,
or moving on to other
I felt
things.
so bad.
No, and they shouldn't feel bad
Yeah.
because it's not in a way of like bitterness or anything like
No.
that. It's just that, that moment of like, oh, I'm not going to get to be a part of this person's journey any
Mm,
longer. Um, hey, what does that look like going
mm,
forward? And how do I communicate in a way that, again, it's
right.
not, you're not bitter,
Right.
you're excited for them,
Yeah.
but man, it'd be awesome if you were still here kind of thing.
Yeah.
That connection sometimes that's kind of bites you in the ass. And then every once in a while you get someone who you're like, all right, yeah, it is time.
Time for you to leave,
Yeah, time to
sir.
head out of the nest. No, and I'm sure they feel the same way about me. Sometimes people are like,
Why am I still here? Is my
yeah,
package done yet? No.
yeah, I'm sure it does happen that way. I would be kind of egotistical for me to think opposite. But yeah, that investment side for me at least
Mm,
does it sucks.
yeah.
But again, it's also cool. Like you don't necessarily train here anymore.
Right.
You have the ability to train on your own.
Mm-hmm.
You have the ability to try new things.
Yeah.
Which is on you. But then you get to sit here, and I get to still have that connection
Yeah.
of being able to have this person who I was a part of their journey for a second,
Yeah.
and I get to talk to them
Yeah.
and share the parts of, hopefully share some of the parts of them that I got so much value in building that connection through working out,
Right.
which is cool. And that's again one of the reasons for this. It's like
Yeah.
these people who, in my head, I'm like, these are really interesting, valuable people
Well,
that
thank you.
I think people, you're on the outside, like you described
Mm,
it. You're on the outside, and maybe that gets neglected because it's not your day.
right.
So then you just kind of go through it, go home,
Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff. But I think a lot of people do recognize that there's like, oh, valuable and interesting things.
Mm,
And in my head, I'm like, well, how do I share that with the other people?
yeah.
How do I take the good things about other people and just exploit it? Yeah, for
Yeah.
no monetary gain, by the way.
Yeah, just for fun, hey?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So in terms of, to swing this all the way back around again,
Yeah, that's fine.
you said when you were describing yourself, you said a deep thinker. Some of the things you have said in this are kind of the beginnings of deep thoughts. And then even the thing of 50, I want to be wise. I want to, have these experiences, have this
Mm-hmm.
this knowledge and this wisdom. What to you is deep thinking? Like, can you tell me more about?
Oh, Pelly.
Yeah.
I'm very introspective. So I like to know what's going on inside of me
Okay.
and to know why. Why do I have these thoughts? Why do I have this belief? Where does it come from? Can I change it? Is it possible to change? What would it take to change it? What steps do I need to do to overcome this belief, this fear, this anxiety? And
You
then,
just opened a Pandora's box
oh,
now.
yeah. You thought this was only going to be 2 hours?
Yeah,
Here
this is
we
good.
go.
This is good.
um, and like a life without growth, a life without meaning. That's not life.
Mm-hmm. Now, I got a bunch of questions for
Okay.
you off of
Woohoo.
that. My first question is, I think you and me both know our area can be not so welcoming to even that kind of talk. I would say some people would maybe even push you away from even asking those types of or thinking those types of questions. How does that work in your life? And I have no preconceived idea of this. I'm actually very curious.
I feel like I've had to keep that part of myself hidden from the majority of people.
Okay.
Um, because I feel like there hasn't been a lot of room to have questions or to live your life in a different way or to make decisions that people wouldn't understand or wouldn't agree with. Um, but something I've also learned by going through a lot of hard shit is you will find people who have also been through hard shit. And those are the people you don't let go of. And those are the people you can share those thoughts with. And then you realize you're actually not alone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's those people. I think if you can find them and tell me your perspective on this, I have a lot less of a tendency of "I told you so." If you would have just
Oh,
listened to me
yeah,
and not questioned that or not had seeked that experience, you wouldn't have to go through this hardship now. So you
right.
should have just listened to me from the start.
Right.
Would you say that's
Yeah.
accurate?
Yeah. Or there's like, I often describe it as I feel like, especially a lot of people in this area live their life like ABC. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's a pattern, there's a process. But what happens if you skip one or you go back or you like ABCDE effed up? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and people don't know what to do with you, I find, if you don't fit in the mold or if you, does this make any sense?
100%.
Okay.
Even in the sense of um making, let's say you go through an experience and it can be viewed as a mistake.
Yeah.
I think
Or
sometimes
like a wrong
a wrong,
decision.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people, and I think most people are inherently want to be a good person
Yeah.
and want other people to think they're a good person.
Yeah.
And it becomes these two conflicting ideas of, if I now indulge in this person's mistake or negative experience, I'm supporting them and I might be viewed as not a good person or not doing a good thing. And if I don't do it, then that also might be the case. So then they just either remove,
Mm-hmm.
or instead of giving an actual feeling or developed thought to someone, they give the thought they think they should provide that person.
Right.
The thought that they've been taught is the right
Yeah.
thought, which might not actually even be theirs.
Right.
They're just regurgitating it because they want to be viewed as a good person. I think
Yeah.
everybody does.
Yeah. And like, this is what we believe is right.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, that's the only thing that's right.
Yeah, and then it becomes super disingenuine.
Yeah.
And to throw super on the start of disingenuine feels like I'm 6 years old, but I think so. Like, it's not
Mm,
relatable. It
no.
doesn't, the lesson or the advice or the knowledge or wisdom just doesn't hold any weight.
Mm, yeah.
You're like, oh, I can feel this is, you're giving me an
Yeah.
answer that I
Right.
know you're going to give me already.
Yeah. I feel like I just have to say what I'm going through.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
say whatever you want.
You could edit it out later if you want to.
This is totally up to you.
Yes. Okay. I just feel like it's going to make more sense.
Okay.
But I I decided to walk away from my marriage, which was not an easy decision. It was not flippant at all. But living in this community where like divorce is almost viewed as worse than murder
Mm-hmm.
and just not ever an option or never justified or never okay, um, has been an experience,
I
to
would
put
believe
it
that.
lightly. um, and walking through this now, like, it's still pretty fresh. Um, and I share this just in case there's someone else who's listening who's maybe going through the same thing. That's the only reason. If I can help someone with this, that's worth it. Um, but I forget my train of thought. Sorry. Oh yeah. So like, going through this has been like, everything has changed. Where I live, who my closest friends are, my community. Um, The only thing I think that stayed the same is my job.
Mm.
Um, but through all of this, I have become so grateful for the people in my life who have chosen to step in to fill the gaps, who've come by my side to support me, to love on me. And even if they agree or don't agree, just see me as a person instead of seeing me as my decision or my circumstance.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that is wisdom.
Mm,
Someone might argue with me, and, you know, I think in my eyes, sometimes that is the issue of I don't know, of the idea of, even sometimes listening to things like that. I think it's tough for anybody,
yeah.
and there's automatic resistance a lot of times. Um, but my experience in the short amount of episodes of this, even, and hearing people's situations like that, is it's not uncommon.
Right.
And the longer it goes, it's forced to feel uncommon,
Yeah.
the longer it becomes an issue,
Right. Yeah.
and it becomes something that takes away from a person rather than allows, especially in a situation like yours, two people, as sucky as it is, to become two people, like to
Right.
become, like you said, a person. You are a
Right.
person at the end of at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
um and that's how it should be treated. And moments in life are moments in life.
Yeah.
Ideas are ideas, thoughts are thoughts, and a person shouldn't be necessarily summed up as those,
Right.
because they're allowed to change.
Right.
You say,
Yeah. And like, think about your worst moment.
mm-hmm,
What if people just saw you through that lens
mm-hmm.
or defined you by that your whole life?
And not only that, but sometimes, yeah, I think you're familiar with this in your story too, the little
Mhm.
bit of, I know, but someone around you's, um like for me, maybe your parents' worst
Mm,
choice
right.
becomes what you identify with,
Yeah.
or you're identified as,
Right.
which from my experience
Right.
is far from who I am.
Yeah.
But constantly, if you even get close to that, or if you even, make a mistake similar, like
Hmm.
make mistakes they made similar, you become the same thing,
Right.
or it was an expectation
Right.
of
It's
you.
like, oh, it's not surprising or
So yeah, like
yeah.
even in the terms of what you're going through, 5 years from now, you might have an experience that someone could easily swing around and say, well, yeah, back 5 years ago, this and this, it does make sense. It's like, no,
Mm,
no,
yeah.
this, I'm a person, I'm living in a life.
Yeah.
There's things that come up, and you problem solve as you go, and you
Hmm.
try and find the best solution to the problem, with and hurting as few people as you can along the way,
Yeah.
and being hurt
Well,
as
yeah.
little as you can along the way.
Yeah.
So is that giving you wisdom?
This process,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. Yes, because like I said earlier, wisdom comes at a cost and through pain.
Mm.
And there's been a lot of cost and pain these last few months. Um, I used to be quite a black and white thinker when I was younger and thought I had the world figured out. And the older I get, the more I'm like, I know nothing. And like, to put it so bluntly,
I
like,
feel yeah.
yeah. And like, who am I to pass judgment on someone where like, I don't know their situation. I don't know what they've been through. I don't know how they grew up. So it's given me a lot of compassion for other people and the stories that they have or the things that they're walking through. Um, and yeah, I think that that compassion is a big piece. I have two really good friends who they told me that when this comes out, that we have to sit down. We're going to listen to it together. Like,
Oh,
I don't
sweet.
want to hear this, but they're making me. um, but they've all, like, both of them been through incredibly hard things. And those are like my closest friends because we can get together and we can share what we're going through. And we can understand each other because of we've been through different pain.
You relate, the situations might not be
They're not
identical,
identical, but
but the pain is similar.
yeah,
The process of pain, and
grief
yeah.
and pain and yeah, all of that is so similar.
And I imagine it's confusing too.
Oh, yeah.
Like when you even said the color thing, like the black and white.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid, I mean, I didn't even know there was colors. Kind of, that way
Yeah,
of
right?
thinking.
Yeah,
Like I
you
just
just think
knew,
like black and white,
yeah,
left or right.
yeah, and your brain is like trying to figure out, like your brain is almost trying to tell you that there's other things going on, but
Mm,
you're either this way or that way,
yeah.
because at least that allows you to move forward
Yeah.
in it with a decision.
Yeah.
When, and maybe too, you can speak on this, when it's not so much the case, there isn't necessarily one right answer,
Mm,
and there's not necessarily one wrong answer.
right.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of them.
There's a lot of gray. There's so much gray.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, who am I living my life for?
Mm-hmm.
Am I living it for the people around me? Or am I living it for me?
Mm-hmm.
And I really had to choose me at the end of the day, which
Mm-hmm.
sounds selfish. Even saying that out loud, still kind of like, are you, can you say that? Like, is that okay? But just from being in a position or in a place where like my mental health was so bad and my physical health was so bad, to now being like I sleep through the night again. A lot of my, I still have anxiety, but so much of it is gone, and
Mm.
in a place where I have hope for my life again, even in the midst of so much pain. Like that decision had to be made for me.
Yeah. And I think people do get the idea of, I have to think, again, especially in the traditional sense, I have to think who's more important.
Mm.
I think people
Like,
think,
who am I
when,
responsible for?
yeah,
Yeah.
people think that, I think the people who bring the most value to the world are the people who invest in their importance the most.
Mm.
They recognize that they're a human being who has one life, who has one opportunity to, this sounds like an Eminem
No,
song.
we're just gonna start like
Yeah, you're gonna back me up here.
Yeah, yeah.
No, they have this chance in this to make whatever tiny impact on the world around them, and I think some people think that's super egotistical, but it's not, in the sense of, it's like you still have morals and you still have
Yep.
The goal to do good in the world and to do good by other people, but there's no way you're going to be the most creative, you're going to be, or the most supportive you're going to be to the people around you, if you're constantly thinking about, one, what they think to keep them safe, and two, forgetting completely about yourself, because you don't have time to be any of those things. So what value are you're going to bring back, other than just being a bench in a park that people get to sit on every once in a while, and then all of a sudden at some point you get old and they throw you out, and
Yeah, you turn 50 and you
they
get replaced.
yeah, and all you have is stories of people who've been around you, who've talked about their experiences.
Yeah.
Whereas, wouldn't it be way better to be that thing providing an impact in the world, being able to receive it maturely? Because I imagine stuff like this, I don't know if in this moment, but I imagine it matures you.
Yes. Yeah,
And,
for
like,
sure.
what kind of, again, at 50 years old, what kind of, if you do things that improve your life, what kind of value are you going to have at that age from these experiences?
I'm so excited. I hope I make it to 50.
Yeah, I hope you do too.
I'm so excited to see what life could be like then.
Yeah. That is a tough thing, though. That judgment of experience is incredibly tough. Like, do you feel that in going through this season of your life? Do you feel the judgment of your current experience?
Yes. Yeah, like whether that's within like my own family or within like people that I thought were my friends, or even just like it's Winkler, like the grapevine, you hear things come back to you. You're like, oh, that person knows about my situation. Weird. But I forget what the original question was. But
yeah, it's just that, like, maturing in this season of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, this is actually harder to talk about than I thought. Because I don't want to.
It's interesting, the grapevine thing.
Yeah.
Too. I actually haven't heard that before. I'm sure it's common.
Oh, yeah.
But it's, to me, I love to speak in metaphors. It's like, I'm going to write a book about metaphors someday. It's going to be like the most sad Dr. Seuss book ever.
Amazing. I'll buy it.
But I think sometimes, like, people think especially like you said, in our area, it's if another plant starts to grow, it's instantly assumed it's a weed.
Mm. Ah,
Where
interesting.
where sometimes you need to let that plant grow to see what it is.
Right.
Like maybe it's another fruitful
Right.
grapevine.
Yeah.
Maybe it's some other plant that enhances the environment of that area, rather than
Mm.
simply thinking this is a weed, we got to get rid of it.
Yeah. We don't recognize it. Right.
Yeah.
So we're afraid of it.
Yeah, we're either going to try and remove it,
Yeah.
or we're going to pretend it isn't there until
Well, that too. Yeah.
or we're going to have the idea or the perspective that if this does grow, it's going to ruin all the other grapes,
Mm.
when not everything is a weed.
Right. Man, do you have like deep thinker on your bio?
On my LinkedIn. I don't know if I have a
Deep
LinkedIn.
thinker.
Yeah, deep thinker. No, I just love like to speak in like metaphors. I think
Yeah.
it makes sense of things in my head.
Yeah, like very visual, right? Yeah.
And then I can like say them out loud and see what it, like just saying
See
that.
if it
I'm
lands.
guessing.
Yeah.
I'm guessing if
No,
that's gonna make sense.
No, I can see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Deep thinker in your bio. That's clever.
Yeah.
Do you have that on your any
mine-
social media?
Mine just says shooting videos.
I swear, if people get to the end of this podcast and they can find you and it doesn't say deep thinker on there, anybody who listens to this, please comment on her last photo, just
You're a deep thinker.
deep thinker.
Yeah. Oh man, good thing I'm private. Yeah, I guess. And like the deep thinker part is something I've grown to appreciate and value in myself. I always felt like maybe I'm too serious, or even coming here today, I'm like, oh, I hope this isn't going to just be such a like a type of feel. But I do.
Like, what do you mean by that? Like, what would that? Can you describe that?
Like I don't want people to feel sad after they're done listening to this, or like I don't know. But I also struggle with feeling like I need to meet people's expectations and like for myself around them. And like I'm learning now I'm gonna be me, and you can deal with it.
Yeah,
you don't like it, stop watching.
Yeah, and right now it is sad. It's okay for it to be sad,
and like this won't be forever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even in this podcast.
Yeah.
Like it won't be. This entire podcast hasn't been that way.
No.
So yeah, but this is allowed to be.
Yeah. No, there's room. Like there's room for like sorrow and grief and deepness and uncertainty, right? And like that is part of the human experience. And I think it is good that we can talk about it.
What does that, like, going off that deep thinking,
Yeah.
these really human experiences, kind of, again, two questions off this. What does human experience look like going forward for you? And what does deep thinking look like going forward to you? Because like you said, I actually didn't know a lot of like even things we've talked about in terms of your thought process and the way you view things. I didn't know a lot as much as I do now going through this conversation. So I'm very curious. Yeah. Like, what does your human experience, what do you want it to look like? Kind of based on what you're saying. And then how does it look like to express that deep thought in a way? And I don't mean that express it necessarily outward,
Right.
the way that you want to express it.
Those are very big questions.
Well, you should have prepared. So,
well, yeah, you told me not to prepare. So that's why I was up all night thinking like, what are, like, I was like kind of doing like those graphs. Like, what if he goes here? Okay, what am I going to say? Or what if he goes here?
I like to think that you had like the police or either the stalker or the police thing where you had a picture in the middle. And then you just had like
all those
strings going
lines.
off the sides.
Yeah. Or the flow chart. That's what I'm trying to. Yeah, the flow chart. Human experience. Can you give me a little bit more on that? That's too broad for me right now.
How do you want to experience the world?
Oh.
Because it seems like maybe you're unsettled.
Yes.
I'm picking up that you're unsettled with portions of your past experience of the world.
Yes. Oh yeah. Like you were catching me in the middle of like some really big changes, not only like circumstantial, but in my mind or in like my thought process. And so I thought this would just be a very interesting podcast because I think people that come on podcasts, they usually like, this is what I'm good at and this is my thoughts.
Yeah, that's the exact opposite reason of me starting this.
Okay, perfect, because then I fit right in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm number one going to give myself patience as I wade through and sort through either things I've been through in my past or places I want to be in my future. Um, and I'm going to continue to connect with people and to be compassionate towards them and to walk alongside them, whatever their journey may be. And I think that is living. To me,
Mm,
that is living. And I'm also going to start taking more risks, whether that's in physical risks, like jujitsu felt like a big risk. Coming to work out with you felt like a big risk, but also like relationally or like mentally, emotionally, just like, you know what? I'm going to just try something new. I don't have
mm,
to keep doing like the same job or live in the same place or,
mm-hmm,
yeah. So I'm just trying to expand,
mm-hmm.
broaden.
What do you see like the positive of that is for you? Like what is it, what
Mm,
draws you there?
just the unknown and the opportunity and the potential.
Yeah. Yeah. And to me it sounds like too you're uh all of those words that you just used, it seems like you understand that the potential, the opportunity, it can also have negative experience in it.
Oh,
It
yeah.
seems like you're like deep
Oh,
thinking. You've deep thought about that of
deep
like,
thoughted.
you know,
Thoughted?
yeah, I'm willing to. There's a price,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of okay with paying that right
Mm,
now. Like,
yeah.
or I think I am at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for forming that for me.
Is that
Yeah, that's very
heck yeah?
accurate. Yeah, thank you.
Um, that's cool. And what
Yeah.
about the deep thinking side of things? How would you like to?
I think I just need to share more
Yeah.
of what's going on in my head or the way I think and feel, even if I know people won't understand or agree, or if it'll
Mm,
make them uncomfortable.
yeah, that's yeah. I'm. Do you ever feel the urge to purposefully?
No,
No.
I know you do, and it blows my mind. I don't know how. I don't think I ever could, but maybe that's something I will do when I'm 40.
Yeah, there's something like maybe in the past I would have been like doing it in the sense of like I want to challenge this person just to challenge them
Mm,
you know, because I know it's gonna get them fired up and I want that. But I think too there's like the benefit of like, oh now I just gotta have a good talk with them because
mm,
I
mm.
know maybe they don't 100% think.
Like push a button just to see what comes out, and then like help them wade through it almost. Or
Yeah, maybe not even that much thought into it, like
okay.
that much intention. Maybe just like the thought of this is what I think. I'm gonna bounce this idea off of.
Mm,
I think people who maybe don't maybe they haven't thought about it, or maybe they have a different thought of it. Because I'm like in my head sometimes with certain people, especially, I'm like I'm willing to face the repercussion of them totally disagreeing and maybe I get something out of it by the very end of like, oh, I see where their perspective's coming from. I could see where that thought goes. Or even by the end of it, I'm like, ooh, that I figured out the thing I don't like about um the opposing like the opposing position of that thought. Is it's almost like this person disagreed with me. I don't know why they're disagreeing with me. And then you have that conversation. You're like, oh, this is why they're disagreeing with me. And this is why I don't like that
mm.
disagreement.
Yeah, and it's like you have to be comfortable with that tension,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know how that other person is going to emotionally respond
Mm-hmm.
to that tension or the disagreement. But I think it's so worth the risk to be able to come to that conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like my fear, I guess, in those conversations, my biggest fear would be at the end of it that they don't understand that I still respect them
Mm,
or I still think they're a good person or I still I s- I might not agree with everything,
right.
but I think they're a human being.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think the fear that they maybe don't reciprocate that, like their value of me is decreased
Right.
simply based again on an idea or a thought
Right.
rather than like an action to
Or
harm them
like,
kind of thing.
yeah. And like, that's the same. Yeah. It's just, I think it's going to sound rude, but like small mindedness
Yeah.
of like, you can still love and accept and hang out with people who have totally different views or opinions than you. In fact, that's what makes the world very beautiful. It would suck if we were all the same,
Hmm.
but yeah, just to learn how to be comfortable even when you're uncomfortable.
Hmm. Yeah, that's speaking of that, beauty in the world,
Yeah.
deep thinking. Um and kind of the opposing thought of exactly kind of what you've been talking about, which is kind of maybe there's some beauty in it, but at the same time it's pretty can be pretty dark.
Mm,
What for you is the light? Like what for you is
mm.
the beauty and the
With my like current circumstance,
yeah,
yeah,
life in general?
life in general.
Yep.
What do I see that's beautiful? Um, if number one for sure would just be the relationships. I've mentioned this a few times, but yeah, those relationships that have grown so much deeper.
Mm.
And even like when you go through something hard, it almost opens up a door to all these other people who are experiencing something similar.
Mm.
So the connections I've been able to make with others who are walking along similar journeys, to support them, be supported by them, like that is beautiful. I also just came back from New York.
Yeah. How's that?
Like I have no words. It was I hadn't taken a vacation for the sake of vacation for probably like 4 or 5 years. So it
Wow.
was due. I went by myself. I stayed with a friend. I was there for 10 days and I had the time of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just like I could choose what I wanted to do. I was alone during the day. My friend and I got together after work. Um, but I'm like, there's so many things to do. Like you could do museums, you could do like just food, you could do shows, you can do sports. Like there's no shortage of entertainment. So I got to choose what I wanted to do, find out what I like.
Mm-hmm.
I got to like go to my favorite camera store where I bought my gear from for years and like keep up conversation with the salespeople and like figure like get that. I don't know. I could do it, and get that validation that like okay, like I do know something about my job or
Yeah.
that was really cool. I got to like meet and like make so many interesting work connections too and meet different like photographers, videographers. It just like opened up my worldview that there's so much more than what we have here in Winkler.
Yeah.
And just the world is beautiful. People are beautiful.
Yeah.
And whenever I feel down, I just remind myself of like this thing you're going through is not your whole life. And the people around you, it's not the whole world's view. And like you're gonna make it. Like you're gonna be okay.
Yeah, isn't it a pretty cool thing to be in like an environment like that where you realize, and I actually said this to you the other day,
Yeah.
but nobody cares,
No one gives it.
and
No one gives a
like
shit.
how relieving is it?
Yeah.
Like it's like obviously you have people who do care,
Yeah.
obviously, but really nobody really
No.
cares, and the people who do care maybe more than they should,
Mm,
they're just not busy enough.
right.
They should, you know, you you have the people who care about you,
Hmm.
and if you're a good person, you find those people.
Yeah.
Um, just you're drawn to them or they're drawn to you, and then the rest of it is what it
Yeah.
is.
You just have to let it go.
You just try and be a good person in the
Yeah.
world around you.
Yeah. And like live your life and don't apologize for it.
That's cool.
It's easy to say, it's hard to do.
Okay, what was your favorite part in New
My
York?
favorite part? Okay.
I'm actually
So,
gonna break this up. Okay,
okay.
I want to know favorite food. Did you try different foods out there?
Oh, okay.
And I want to know your favorite. I want to know your favorite attraction
Okay.
and your just favorite
Like experience.
experience. Yeah. So let's start with food. What was your favorite? Did you try any different
Food.
foods?
You know what? I didn't do a huge amount with food just because I was trying to keep it a little economical.
Hmm.
But I stayed with my friend who's from Ukraine, and she had some of her family staying with her as refugees. So every morning they made me breakfast. So I had this like Ukrainian breakfast every day. It was kind of like German based, like meats and cheeses, and I don't even know what it was, but it was really good.
Russian
And
weddings to Ukrainian breakfast.
Ukrainian
You're
breakfast,
covering
right?
them both.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. So yeah, that was, and then just having like pizza. Oh, also I had like a hot dog, just like off those hot dog stands. That was a moment.
Was it
Anyone?
was it the experience? Or was the hot dog good, or was the just the experience of
what?
like I'm eating a hot dog
Like, and
in New
like
York?
you have to eat it when you walk. You can't stop and eat it. You have to eat it while you walk. That's the New York way to do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's just like full of toppings because I'm like, don't hold back, give me everything. So there's like sauerkraut and onions and chili and whatever. And you're just like, don't spill this on your shirt as you're eating it. But the hot dog was pretty good. I also love hot dogs. Like that's
Okay.
just a fun fact of Kayla is
Yeah,
yeah,
kind of like the top of the food chain, really.
right? Yeah, full of
Yeah,
nutrients. Um, so that was a really cool moment,
that's
just
cool.
getting that hot dog. And then yeah, Ukrainian breakfast. I had like a really good piece of carrot cake
Oh
from
yeah.
a bakery. Yeah.
Okay, I said
Um,
one though.
oh, sorry. The next question was attraction, I think.
You're like, nope.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the best attraction?
Attraction. Okay, so I went to New York actually to see the Danish string quartet. I booked that ticket before I booked my flights, actually. So a friend of mine long time ago told me about the Danish string quartet, sent me their NPR Tiny Desk concert, fell in love with them. And throughout the years, I'll pull them up every so often. And I did a couple months ago. And I figured, you know what? In my head, I was thinking about going to New York. I'm like, I'm just going to see if they're on tour. So I checked their list, and sure enough, they were playing in New York at Carnegie Hall the week I wanted to go. So I bought my ticket immediately, and I bought myself a
Wow.
nice ticket. And I kind of like planned my trip around this event.
How
So
was it?
like when they came out on stage, I cried. And like, I'm like, people my age usually do this to Taylor Swift, but
Yeah.
like, I'm doing this to the Danish string quartet. It was amazing. I've never been to like such a formal, like orchestra
Yeah.
related thing. And
Was
there's
there a dress code?
no, but I did dress up.
Mm-hmm.
I looked very good. Um, but there's like rules as to like when you can clap and yeah. So like the first three songs they played were by one composer from one set. I don't know. There's terms for this. I don't know. So you can't clap in between those songs. You only clap after they're finished. So I almost started clapping like an idiot.
How do you know?
Well, like so like they finish and then you don't know if they're going to go back into it or not.
What did you get like notified of this ahead of time? Like this
No.
was a thing?
No, I just like went to go start clapping and then like no one else was doing it. So I just like back.
Just
um
crying. You stand up.
yeah.
You jump on stage. Oh no, that's awesome.
So then after they were done those three songs from that one composer, they
Mhm.
actually like got up, bowed, left the stage. And I'm like, what the heck? There's still like there's more. And then 10 seconds later, they walk on again, bow, sit down, do all their adjustments, like make sure they're sitting right, and then they play the next one. So for each composer, they would get off the stage and then come back on.
How long was this?
It was 2 hours plus an intermission.
Was it awesome?
It was amazing.
Did it feel like 2 hours?
No.
I was gonna say it sounds like something like your excitement level.
Yeah.
Sounds like something that probably didn't feel like 2 hours worth of
Yeah, no.
orchestra music.
No, it was, and like they're not mic'd or anything.
Oh,
It's just acoustic. But because the hall is so like acoustically engineered, you can hear them. And I could even hear them breathe as they were playing. It was wild.
so okay. Was that your favorite attraction or experience or both?
All of it. Yes.
Wow,
All of it.
that's spectacular.
Yeah.
That is it's probably therapeutic in a way
Yeah.
too. I can imagine that's probably one of those like, okay, this is
Yeah.
what I've
Yeah.
listened to.
Listening to it.
Yeah.
And I thought for sure I was going to be the youngest person there, but I wasn't. There were some younger people. But yeah, I went there by myself. My friend lives in the Bronx. So I like took a subway an hour out to go to the show. Went to it. Got some Chick-fil-A after because I was so hungry.
And just out of curiosity
Yeah.
now, first of all, Chick-fil-A, now you're making me hungry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
And it is
go-
lunchtime.
I'm going to the US next week and
Oh.
I'm gonna get some Chick-fil-A. I
Please do.
think.
Eat it for me.
I'll just get two and then
Just-
just I'm not even hungry. I'm like, oh, I gotta eat it now.
Yeah.
Dang, where's it going with that? Shoot. What'd you say just right at the end there?
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A and then the Bronx.
Yeah.
Hey, the Bronx, it's as they would call it's gentrified now, right?
Oh, what does that mean?
It's like the white people have moved in.
Oh, yeah.
Like everything's cleaned up and it's good. Is that right?
Well, okay, it's also a big area, and I didn't see a huge part of it.
Okay.
I would say the area I was in was really safe. There's a lot of young families,
Okay.
and it was really close to a college.
Okay. That just shows, I mean, kind of shows my ignorance on
Okay.
the topic, because somewhere I remember hearing that
Yeah.
it became like, it went from like a area that was known to be a little bit rougher
Mm,
to becoming a more
yeah.
upscale and money getting
Oh,
invested
okay.
into it and stuff like that.
Maybe.
And then maybe the people that were there
Yeah.
relocated
Right.
um, out of necessity because they couldn't
Bad for business.
yeah, bad for business. That's what I maybe had heard, but I wasn't
Yeah.
sure. I was curious. You
Yeah.
obviously, I'm ignorant. I've never been there.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
actually
I've
have been
I've
there.
been to this like little tiny portion of it, but yeah, I felt pretty safe.
Well, I'm taking your experience
Yeah.
as the gospel, so
Yeah. I had before I left on my trip, someone had told me they'd been to New York and went to the Bronx and someone pulled a knife on them on the subway. And I was like, oh shit. Like, will I die on this trip?
yeah, that's wild.
But like, no, it was so safe. I actually felt more safe there than I do in Winnipeg sometimes.
Really,
Mm-hmm.
there was a I'm curious too what it'd be something to experience. That's the one thing I learned about Minneapolis too.
Oh yeah, Minneapolis is
Yeah,
crazy.
we got told a lot
Mm,
to just not go out at night.
yeah,
The last time we were there, we did go out at night and it felt okay.
yeah. You're
But
also a dude.
yeah, I'm curious. But one of our friends actually got robbed
Oh
a few
really?
years ago. Yeah, um, coming home from like a sporting event or coming back to the place and whatever. I think they even had a statistic last year or the year before about how much money got robbed from Canadians going to Blue Jays games
Oh my gosh.
that year. But um, obviously, too, your experience has to be your experience,
Hmm.
and the experience of us actually going out and being out at night, it wasn't bad.
Right.
Of course, I'm sure if you're looking for trouble or you weren't kind of using your head,
Yeah.
again, also a girl probably would be a
Yeah.
different situation. But dang, like it was good? Like, did you enjoy it?
The trip?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. Like, can I go back?
it was hard to leave.
It was so hard to leave.
Did you see yourself living there?
I could.
Dang. So
Yeah.
okay.
And like that shocked me. I was not expecting to love it as much as I did. But just seeing, I guess, all the opportunity that there would be for work or even just a different lifestyle.
Hmm.
Um, and like I just met some really cool people too. And like met a like talked to a guy on a subway for like a long time.
Hmm.
That doesn't just happen, you
That's
know?
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I'm
Was the
like,
how was the subway
you know what? I actually love
situation?
subways.
It's cool.
Yeah. Have you ever subwayed?
Like I usually go with like an Italian urban cheese, like foot long.
That
With
is the best bread.
yeah, with
Yeah.
like steak. So it's my experience has
Okay.
always been good, but
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I've heard no, I'm kidding. No, I've never been like just like like whatever trolley things or
Oh,
whatever.
like the above ground.
Yeah,
Yeah.
never like underground,
Oh,
like to
okay.
that capacity. No.
Yeah. No, it was overwhelming. I've like subwayed in Paris and Rome before.
Mm,
So it's easier that it's in English for sure. Like in New York, that everything's in English. But I don't know. I find it fun. You can just like you pop down underground, you get on a train, and you pop up somewhere else. It's wild. I don't know. I find it
does it
magical.
does it feel fast?
Yeah. Yeah, like there's sometimes like depending on who's driving, I think, like they'll just like hammer on the brakes and if you're not ready, you'll fall.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like
Did you fall
have
at all?
no.
Good for you.
I know. Low center of gravity.
Ever since you shrunk, your life's been different.
Yeah, right.
Did you see any crazy things? Because I always the little bit
Mm.
I've seen is just crazy videos
Oh
of
yeah.
like stuff.
Okay, actually, I was near the financial district one day, which is at the end of Manhattan,
Okay.
and all of a sudden, like sirens are going off, which isn't uncommon, but like they wouldn't stop. And like right close to where I was, like ambulance, police, fire trucks, like nonstop. And I actually think all of a sudden there's a helicopter in the air. I'm like, what is happening? And they're like, people are getting out of vehicles and running. And I actually think I walked past the mayor because I was right by the city hall building. And there
Okay.
was this guy walking out with like security. And I think I walked right by the mayor. But what had happened, I found out later, is a parking garage had collapsed. And like someone died. A couple of people got injured. But
Oh,
that was
wow.
really close to where I was. So it was just interesting to see, I guess, like the NYPD in full force.
That's probably like that whole environment would be
Yeah.
pretty spectacular. I mean, as
Yeah.
awful, you know,
Yeah,
obviously you
it's
don't
so
want.
sad. But it's like you don't like just I had never seen so many police cars in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I can't believe you live there. Like, good for you.
Yeah. I mean, like I say that now. Living there would be that's different than vacation, right? But
Yeah, I think I can live in Mexico.
yeah, that's fair.
That's my brain says that's where you belong, man.
Yeah. On
But
the beach, right?
oh, just like I don't know. Just it's like you said, you experience something different than what you're used to, and
Yeah.
it's something freeing about it.
Yeah.
Something freeing, as sad as it sounds, about people not caring nearly as much as
Yeah.
you think they do, and in those situations, you know,
Yeah.
and then it also opens up your eyes to having the freedom to see opportunity and the the
Mm-hmm.
beauty of the place,
Yeah.
rather than constantly almost being in your own head about,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh yeah. Coming home felt like how do I come home without putting on guilt and shame again?
Hmm.
And just having to like mentally decide, no, I'm not gonna pick it up.
How do you?
How do I do it?
Yeah.
I just have to like when I feel it coming on, saying like, no, that's not for me to carry.
Good for you.
Sorry, I took that down again. We
that's
were
good.
going up and then I brought it back down.
That's really good. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Easier said than done, but
Yeah, I'm not gonna pretend I know. It's like incredibly tough, especially it's always trying to figure out too, like those experiences that you learn from of how to carry that knowledge and
Yeah.
actually apply it.
mhm.
Of like, hey, this gave me a perspective change. How do I apply that perspective change and not, I don't know if settle in is the right word, because I think settling in assumes that we're in the line of time that we're staying stationary, when it just doesn't work that way. It's like, as I'm going now, how do I apply this to my trajectory? Yeah, that's the tough part.
It is so tough. Yeah.
If you figure it out, can you let me know?
Oh, for sure. You have me back on and I'll
Heck yeah. I'm
well,
actually, that's one thing I'm excited for. I'm like a little bit like, there is a part of me that's like, what are people going to say if I have someone on again? Like,
ooh, do
the
it.
judgment call. But then I'm like, hey, what do I care?
Yeah.
But that's
This
one
is
thing
for you.
I'm really looking forward actually to having people on again, to kind of sitting down with them and being like, kind of, they know what's going on now. I kind of know what's going
Right.
on now. I know
Yeah.
them a little bit. And then
And
to
your
talk
viewers
again.
do too, or your listeners, right?
Yeah, and to connect with them. And a lot of the like, even yourself, like this is the first time certain people are going to hear a lot of things about
I know.
you. So it almost opens, I'm feeling in my head, opens the door for, let's say you pop in here again.
Yeah.
Well, now you're like, oh, I've said
Yeah.
some of the hardest parts about me that I need to say. Now I can elaborate. I got time to elaborate on all that stuff.
Right. And like with more time and space too and healing, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
even if I came in 6 months or a year, like imagine I'll
And
be 30 by then.
Yeah, and who knows? You could, let's say you have the freedom
Yeah.
to, I would hope you'd feel that. You have the freedom to backtrack. You have the freedom to progress.
Yep.
You have the freedom to do all that. And then I'd hope whoever this person is, like you included, would feel comfortable enough to do that, because I think that's so relatable for someone to connect with what you're talking about, hear it, kind of process it for themselves, and then for you to come back and say, you know what, I thought this. I think this a little bit now about that same thought, and I thought this, and this is what it's done for me.
Yeah, and like you have permission to say, oh, I was wrong about something.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, I changed my mind.
Or I was right.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, of course.
I really confirm that. I can't wait to jump into this next thing.
Yeah.
And just reaffirm someone that, hey, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Regardless. No, that's one thing I'm really actually looking forward to.
Yeah, me too. So I'm going to come back. I'm just going to say that now.
Yeah, you just can't move to New York, because I'm not doing any of these over Zoom.
Well, like if I give you good recording though, like I have equipment.
Yeah, if you do good recording, but my fear is like, if I do a Zoom one, I do just, if the video's garbage.
Oh no, like I could film it. We could just, it would work.
Okay.
Trust me. Yeah.
So you're moving. That's what you're saying. You're like, I'm out. You're like, I'm setting this up now.
It's so tempting.
Well, Zach has offered his audio engineering skills to this podcast, but between him being here at 4 a.m. and sometimes staying till
oh my gosh,
the depths of the night, I don't want to put that on him.
Okay.
But if you really, you got to take a step back from all the stuff you're doing and you want to get into audio engineering,
sounds great.
We could use you on the team.
Okay,
I think.
sounds good. I have lots of time this summer, like barely any weddings.
Yeah. Sweet. Yeah, none.
Yeah.
Okay, at the end of this thing,
Yeah.
I always give or want to give people the opportunity to kind of one kind of say what you're looking forward to coming up,
Mm, okay.
and two, kind of shut out whatever you got going on, whether it's your
Mm,
personal stuff or even your business stuff, whatever it is,
okay.
just that opportunity. um if you want me to put your Instagram, your
Okay.
business
Yeah.
Instagram, I'll tag it underneath here.
Okay.
But yeah, you go ahead. What do you got?
Okay.
What do you got going on in
What
the
I got
future?
going on in the
What can people look
future?
forward to?
Yeah. What can people look forward to?
Or what you can look forward to?
Yeah. Well, people can look forward to watching me become my best self.
Nice.
Yeah. And I think something I want to say too is like if anything I've said and you're listening to this, you can relate to, or you find like you're in a similar position and you don't have anyone to talk to, please reach out. Like I want to be there for anyone who is going through something similar, or like at the beginning of their journey, or I don't know. Just know that you don't have to go through it alone. That's something I would say. Um, that wasn't your question, but too bad.
Mm-mm.
Um,
That's perfect.
yeah, good. But they can look forward to, yeah, just watching me figure out my life again. And you're welcome. Whoever wants to come join me on this journey, like come hop on board.
Heck yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
gonna be a good ride.
that's one of the best answers yet. The Just looking forward to the journey of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it is exactly that. Cheesy as it sounds.
Oh, I love cheese.
Yeah, the cheese. Yeah,
Yeah.
the cheese. Me too. Italian herbs and cheese, actually. And then where can they find you if they want to
They want
connect
to
with
find
you?
me in person. I live in Morden.
If you need any more, you'll have to get to know you more.
Yes, that's about it. Um, but my Instagram is at rhymeandrhythm.ca. Pain to spell. Good luck. Didn't think about that when I came up with my business name, so just tag it. I sometimes post. I should do better, but that would be the place if you want to see my work or like see what I'm doing video wise. That's where you'll find me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll tag it below here too. Um, that was awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for watching, listening to Kayla's story, listening to my great sense of humor, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.
Yeah, we'll see you in a year.
Yeah, she'll be back.
Yeah.
Awesome, Kayla.
Oh.
Hey.